Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today we are continuing our epic deep dive tunneling into the rabbit holes of government mind control. This is episode 14, I think is 14 now, and we've been doing these like every week pretty much. I think we skipped 1 week a while back. So this is the longest endeavor that Wake the Dead has ever taken, and it is continually unfolding new truths and understandings. Last week, we learned that G.H. Estabrooks is the source of all of the Seth revealed materials, and it touches different things that we never expected to find, and we're continually like amazed at, oh my goodness, look at what this is saying. And it's also like it's unredacted, this document that we have, and they speak in almost plain English of what they're doing. I mean, last week we were talking about, they were discussing amongst each other in these letters, G.H. Estabrooks and the members of the FBI and Hoover, speaking about how they can make a person hypnotized, not know they're hypnotized, and then do an action that would go against everything. Like it goes against even their own human desire to stay alive. And then they said it'd be real easy to just plant one of these guys, and they were talking to naval intelligence, and all of a sudden there were 3 naval vessels that were sunk because of mismanagement, or basically there was the front torpedo tube was open, and then they opened the back torpedo tube, and then there was somebody else was sabotage. This was sabotage straight up. And so who's to say it wasn't somebody who was hypnotized? Who's to say this wasn't a test, and it was right before World War II, just to show all the other enemies, look what we can do. What are we really reading about here? I mean, this is much more than, it is JFK and RFK and all of these situations that are just like the Manchurian Candidate film and book, but it goes much more deep than that, and we're understanding about the mind, and we're understanding about government. It's just fantastic, and we're so thankful to have you, William, and we're blessed to have you joining us as well, Hans, with your show, The Resonant State. And welcome, Hans. Say hello, and then we'll introduce William.
All right, great. Yeah, no, it's been a great series, and there was some real. I mean, some of the stuff we have uncovered is really pretty earth shattering. If you think about it, especially with the timelines, and you're seeing this guy's fingerprints across the decades in a very dramatic way, and then when you tie in Erickson and his connections, etc., it's going right up to the present day. You know what I mean? So that's quite fascinating. And one thing that was interesting, the submarine thing is it's like you doth protest too much. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I'm too soft hearted. I could, but if I were to do it, you know. And quick tangent. I'm not Alex Jones, even though I like him a lot because he's macho. He's a real alpha male. But this stuff I've been drinking, this blue tea, it is amazing. It has antioxidant, free radicals. It is a neurotropic, lower blood pressure, eye health, heart health. So it's like super. It is like one of the most healthy drinks that exists. So it's awesome. I thought I might not live past the last show, but I'm I'm smarter than ever.
And
Hopefully.
so all you have to do is juice like 5 Smurfs per glass. Is that what it is?
No, it's some kind of kinky butterfly. It's a
Well,
butterfly fly.
tell them what it is. Tell them.
Butterfly, blue butterfly PT,
PEA,
not
not
PE.
not the urine of butterflies.
I hope the Epstein network wasn't behind it. I
Oh
just
yeah,
did a
blue
show on the
butterfly.
blue butterfly. That's what they gave out.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah. I just
that
did a
was
show with a new victim. Like she,
Oh shit.
last
Mm.
week. So
That was a great show. And
thanks.
there was, you know, I just saw a kids movie recently called Spellbound, and it started with a big blue butterfly, and then it was all about like MK Ultra type stuff. It was, I mean, it was pretty sick. SRA type stuff too. But it's,
Yeah.
but you don't see it unless you know. It's like one of those kind of has a hidden subtext, you know. But all the way across the screen, big blue butterfly with the letters Spellbound right there. That's the opening. So there's a lot more to that. We need to look into that. But
Right.
if
They
Epstein
all
was
did
handing those out,
tattoo, right? Didn't that was like a notifying tattoo? Like it got darker. Like
yeah,
that girl, I forgot her name offhand, but the author of the Blue Butterfly, they were doing eugenics, harvesting eggs, really dark stuff. Like
yeah,
that's it's starting to unravel. And this new Epstein drops are incredible. I mean, the stuff about Trump and a dead body and all this stuff, like, whoa, he's heavily involved in that in the 90s. So it's really bad. I can see why they didn't want it to come out. Yeah, no. So
yeah.
it's really
Right.
bad. But great intro, by the way, Sean. That was a great intro. I think so. I think this is really setting the timeline, just like Han said, setting the timeline back, and it's more appropriate. You're seeing other figures. It's not just like Esther Brooks or West. As West seems to be the leading boogeyman. I keep hearing his name all the time. But these guys are before that. Esther Brooks and Erickson for sure. And probably we can go back. I'm gonna try to this year is my goal is to go back to Mesmer and some of these other guys, but it all went out. One of the fascinating things which you'll see in this document, in addition to William Joseph Bryan, is they mention Honnison. So there's other articles and things. I'm actually in the process of getting some great articles. One's being sent to me right now that pertain and overlap with this document, but you just see that it's multifaceted and also this it's a bigger it's expanded. Like these guys are talking to other academics. They're talking to Hoover. There's a lot of back and forth between Hoover and all of his bosses at the FBI. There's clearly other things going on with naval intelligence and this war. So, right, like our most recent document is right before the war starts, right? 39. So you'll see this kind of this attitude change in Esterbrook's, like, is this wartime? Seeing this in the application of these techniques in a wartime environment, and also understanding how it's being used by the enemy too. And there's other things they say in here that are incredible, like Germany's the foundation of all this hypnotism stuff. And so you see, I think this gives you a better multifaceted view of this pattern of stuff that they know this secret knowledge. Like literally, they're almost like alchemists or something, where they had this secret knowledge and they kept it secret. This is a document that just came out in 2018, and you can go back. We talked about it last time, like destroy this thing, destroy copies of it. Like even on 267, copies destroyed, 64. Like from something from 39, like they went back 25 years. I don't know how these copies came out, but these onto the context of this within the American government secrets, vast intel and secrecy networks are really something else. Like we don't know what other documents could be out there. That's why you should support Black Vault. But thanks everything for everybody for following this. We already have 70 live listeners on all these different channels, and a lot of I've just gotten positive responses from this. One guy said this is the best thing on the internet right now. Really, and I tend to agree with him because this is original research, and for people who appreciate research, this show's for you. So please share it too if you feel like it. That's what I'm going to do this year, 2016, is to have people share some of my shows if they really like them. Share them. You don't have to give me money, just share the shows. It's cheap, or tell your friends when you're drinking. I mean, in the networks, the non-internet networks are really incredible because you never perceive them, but the grapevine really does work. Anyway, so I'm glad to be back with you guys and follow this trail.
Yeah, no, and I'd say one other thing that's fascinating. We also brought up just to highlight before we dive in the document is Esterbrook's work on this, group telepathy, this kind of thing. This ties into the research that Stanford Research Institute was doing, that that Ken Kesey was doing with the Merry Pranksters. That's one of the things they were researching in that collective endeavor was this group telepathy thing, this group mind stuff. So this goes all the way back to 1920s, and he was also into spiritualism and who knows what else. So this is he looks like a little kind of the kind of dude would say the 90-pound weakling, right? But man, if he looks at you funny, you're going to be dancing naked in Times Square, swinging a baseball bat or something with that, and you won't even remember, you know.
Right. It's really scary. Like these guys, I mean, the scary thing is like we're going to get to these as we go things that happened in the 60s with Erickson. And it's like these guys have been at it for decades, man. It's like 65, like right during the 60s, all the upheaval. Here they are meeting and chatting and networking and stuff like that with all this accrued knowledge over time and communication. So we've gone through this document. They're communicating back and forth with each other. This is what we see just through the correspondence.
And one last thing is they're setting up institutional support networks, right? So once you create, especially say a university, so you create legacies, you create lineages, right? So you have, if you get one person in place and then you get their protege, you can keep that going for 50, 60 years, right?
Look at the Huxleys. How many generations that
Good point.
Uh,
Who did has Esther Brooks influenced? And Erickson. Erickson had like 5 kids too. One of his, I mean, his kids are still around doing practicing psychology and stuff. And you mentioned Bates and Bates. I literally did research on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and some of Bateson's like ideological offspring are still practicing and doing stuff from same institutions that existed in the 60s. It's incredible. Like, wow, people are walking. I probably walked by some of the doors there in Menlo Park because that's where I'm from, is that area. And like, wow, the history here is incredible. So
and it's also interesting to see as these documents have gone along where they were kind of fumbling in the dark, where they're like, oh, maybe scopolamine was useful somehow and whatever. And by the last episode, they were basically saying uh, the goal is make somebody not know they're hypnotized and do something they don't want to do. Something criminal. Like, how can we apply this in some way? And it wasn't like, oh, maybe this mind control can like better the world and we can save babies or something. They're like, how do we create criminals that don't know they're being criminals for our benefit? That's where the will of the state started off with like, oh, what's the possibility, and then it zeroed in on, we're going to control people's minds completely and they're not going to know that we're doing it, and we're going to make weapons out of them, perfect weapons, like the Asian guy said in Manchurian Candidate.
yeah, Dr. Yenlo. Yeah.
But I
Right.
would also stress the one thing they talk about is to harm themselves, potentially die, right? And so again, we may dig into that at some point. The submarine accidents. Oh, you know, coincidence there. Because you don't
Right.
think that before the war started they're going to have if you got a hypnotically controlled asset hidden in the U.S. Navy, you're not going to waste him on the pre-war before the United States even entered the war. They didn't enter the war until 1941. So that doesn't really make sense for Germany to do that, right? It doesn't. So, okay. Anyways,
No, you're right. You're really right.
But it does as
Yen
a
Lo, if
display.
you the
Go ahead,
the
sorry.
self-killing thing, Yen Lo says it in one of the papers that he talks about at the famous scene with the 11 members of the platoon, and then at the end, Raymond Shaw, aka I forgot the actor's name, but he kills himself at the end, right? So it actually is integrated into that film. So Condon was on point. Like he must have had access to some documents. I don't know if everything, but
And I might add that suicide programming is the cleanup that they put in the brain so that if anything goes wrong, whoop, then they end up, offing themselves, and that's the end of the story. Oh, nothing to see here, guys. And then they will never tell the secrets. Um, there's a lot of uh, formerly SRA abused adults that are overcoming their troubles understanding their minds, and the suicide stuff pops out like it's just when their therapist gets too close to the truth, all of a sudden it just triggers in their heads. So like this is a mechanism of keeping the secret. So it's good that they displayed it in Manchurian Candidate for us to see, because that is a integral part of that whole situation.
yeah, no, it's remarkable. And some of these guys do it. Columbine, like they have sketchy, like deep state connections. The parents of the 2 kids, um, their parents were like part of the military or something. once you understand this, you kind of see things in a different light. And you have to analyze each like shooter, like what is this person really doing, or who is he, and has he been in the hospital for a long period of time, like Raymond Shaw. And it goes into this the same things here. This kind of idea of a stable or somebody being handled, and all those things like that. Like it's really
But
something else.
but also I mentioned, okay, so you have academic research-based institutions, you also have juvenile detention centers, prisons, hospitals, et cetera,
Yeah.
that
The CCC.
getting people in place and setting up institutional structures which are clandestine, right? So there's like an organization within an organization, and I think as we go in these documents, they will discuss this again with his, stop smoking, man. Don't go to Esterbrooks or Erickson to quit smoking, man. You're gonna be smoking, but you will stop smoking cigarettes, but you may be smoking something else. Or it may go up in flames, man. So, I
Just
mean,
like Get Out, where she was teaching people to quit smoking cigarettes. The lady with the cup and that was her thing. She would help people to quit smoking cigarettes, put them under hypnosis. That was her profession. It's interesting.
by the way,
Yeah,
I
see, it
quit
all ties into everything. It ties into the modern culture, ties into all these things.
day 4. I quit smoking cigarettes. It's day 4, and nobody hypnotized me.
Good for
Nice.
you, man.
That's good.
That's
Four
great.
To your
days.
Nicotine
knowledge,
is
you wouldn't remember anyway, right? So
You're right.
hopefully
I wouldn't
nobody.
remember. Maybe that's why I was dancing, wearing a diaper, dancing on top of my roof last night. But I don't know. I'm just
maybe
kidding.
that's why you say you like Alex Jones. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
happened. They
Alex,
program that into
all
your head
right,
too.
I'm gonna tell you. Okay. Anyways, okay. Let's get into the document.
Yeah, before we
Awesome.
started, one more thing for people who've kind of joined the episodes later, you can go back and watch them all either on the Resonant State, Wake the Dead, my channels. Some of them have copyright issues, so they're not all on YouTube. Like it's really lame because we're commenting on Eyes Wide Shut, and they said that was a copyright issue. Like
Ugh.
I'm using color comment, like I'm not ripping it off. And so anyway, so you can listen to it on my podcast, William Ramsey Investigates. This document can be found at Black Vault. You probably all you have to do is type in George Hoban, Hoben, Esterbrooks, and Black Vault, and it should take you a link right there. You can just download it if you want to read along. I'll try to expand it so you can see it as well, so people can read along with us. But maybe the most efficient thing is just to download it yourself, have a copy of yourself, and read it that way. That's what I would recommend. Anyways, you guys ready to get started?
Let's do it.
We've
Anybody
got
want
the
to read?
documents.
Yeah,
I'll read
funny.
first, I guess, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
great.
go ahead.
Please do.
Can I do my Alex Jones voice?
Yes,
Please
you
don't.
can.
Or should I read? Should I read it in Indian accent? No, I will not do that. I will be considered
It's the
a
blue
racist.
tea that's doing that.
The
Making
blue
you do
tea
that.
is maybe it's a little too strong. Okay, I gotta back off. Anyways, here we go. So July 10th, 1939. Dear Mr. Hoover, please pardon this further imposition on your good nature, but I find in my work it is very useful to review the possibilities of the situation. I still don't take this submarine situation seriously. Wait, we didn't read this one, right? Am I on the wrong one? But I'd like to briefly sketch a possible setup for such a case.
What page are you on, Han? Sorry.
I'm on 273.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
Is that? Did we read that
That's
one
it.
last?
No, I feel like we were very close to this. So yeah, let's start here. This is
Okay.
it, right? July 24th, 1939.
I have July 10th, 1939. Colgate University,
Mhm.
273.
You sure it's July 10th? Looks
That's
like
what
July
this-
6th.
The stamp says July 10th.
Okay, you're reading
Oh, right, the
stamp.
stamp. Right, the stamp.
The date is July 6th.
You're right. Yes. Okay, we found it. 272 on mine.
272. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
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 All right. Sorry.
And if we did repeat it, it won't hurt to read it again. So, please pardon this further imposition on your good nature, but I find in my work it is very useful to review the possibilities of the situation. I still don't take the submarine situation seriously, but would like to briefly sketch briefly a possible setup for such a case. As I pointed out, hypnotism can be easily induced by means of a disguise technique. In other words, it is quite possible for a good hypnotist to hypnotize a reasonably good subject without causing the least suspicion as to what is happening. Here, of course, we would work behind the front of such an instrument as a lie detector. It is then very easy to remove all knowledge of ever having been hypnotized, and it is also easy to render it impossible for anyone to hypnotize the subject in the future. This gives a very interesting setup. For example, by the use of certain post hypnotic signs, that's interesting, right? Post hypnotic signs. It is quite possible to hypnotize an individual while he is sitting opposite you at the table. The process taking about 2 seconds. Then you can talk to him for 10 minutes, wake him up, and he has no knowledge of ever having been hypnotized. Besides that, he has no interest whatever in hypnotism, and should anyone else try the same game, he would be more difficult to handle than a brand new subject who is quite insusceptible to the trance. All this I have outlined before and simply reiterate it to refresh your memory. Now, returning to the melodramatic side, it would be very simple for, say, myself, working in any one of your hospitals, to secure half a dozen subjects without you or anyone else being any wiser. Then it would be a simple matter to direct their interests to the submarine service or any other branch of the Navy. After this, I am quite convinced that criminal action could be obtained merely by the process I outlined in my last letter. I am serious to the extent that I am quite convinced the whole thing is possible, but I don't imagine for one moment that it ever occurred or ever will occur.
Of course not. Oh, it never do crimes. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, so right there you have
Right.
completely infiltrating various institutions, getting people on career paths, setting up sleeper agents, making so that no one can even ascertain that they were hypnotized or hypnotize them. So pretty detailed overlay of your Manchurian candidate set up back in 1939.
Yeah, incredible.
He's so willing to participate too, the way that he words this document.
He's like clever, like very clever, like dance, good, maybe, or
right.
If this is it's possible that I slept with your wife, but that's not possible. But this is how it'd be like. This is what her body looks like. I mean, come on, dude. Anyways, okay, go ahead. You can read the next one if you want.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Dear Dr. Estabrook. Whoop. Shit. Where was I? Okay. Dear Dr. Estabrooks, thank you very, very much for your letter of July 14, 1939, advising me of a reprint entitled Physiological Reactions Following Painful Stimuli Under Hypnotic Analgesia Contrasted with Gas Anesthesia and Novocaine Block. Is that what I think? Block. Wish you received from Mr. Ralph. I'm sorry, this is kind of weird. It's all smudged. And
Ralph Brown, psychologist.
Okay, Ralph K. Brown. I see, psychology. United States Public Health Service, and Mr. Weber H. Vagel, Fast Assistant Surgeon, United States Public Health Service. I'm placing this information in the files of the Bureau for future reference. Sincerely yours. Sorry, guys, that one was kind of painful. But yeah, that's okay. Psychophysiological reactions following painful stimuli under hypnotic analgesia contrasted with gas anesthesia and Novocaine block. I mean, that sounds very interesting, and it's reminiscent in my mind of what Grok had to endure with the breaking of his legs. I mean, painful stimuli, that's trauma-based mind control right there, right?
Yeah. Read the next one, Sean. It's kind of on the same theme.
Okay. Dear Mr. Hoover, it occurs to me that you would be interested in the following two men. Mr. Ralph R. Brown, psychologist, United States Public Health Service, and Mr. Victor H. Vogel, past Assistant Surgeon, United States Public Health Service. I have just received a very interesting reprint from them entitled Psychophysiological Reactions Following Painful Stimuli Under Hypnotic Analgesia Contrasted with Gas Anesthesia and Novocaine Block. The work seems to be very well done, and the points are well drawn. Most cordially yours, Estabrooks.
I think this is an important one. What he's saying to Hoover is, I've got these other guys from the United States Public Health Service who are doing tests on making people numb to pain under hypnosis, as opposed to non-hypnotically having drugs applied to them. And you'll see in later things, like we've seen Erickson get people to lift their hand up and see if that's like a thing where they're under hypnosis. And once we get to William Joseph Bryan, one of the things he would do is literally stick a pin through people's hand when they were hypnotized, and they would show no pain. He could actually do that. So I think that this is the same type of experiment. Experimental paper. Yeah.
I'll do you one further. People should read Bryce Taylor, because she was abused by her parent. This is kind of graphic, but her dad, in the training of her, in her SRA treatment, to make her numb to pain, he would take a hot poker out of the fire and penetrate her vaginally with it. And then years later, when she grew up to become the presidential whore that she had to be, she was servicing Nixon, and Nixon, in front of his friends, made her open her legs, and he burned her vagina with a cigar, and they watched her face did not flinch, and he was amazed by that. He was like, look at this, guys. Like, this is... So that right there is proof of this is what can be done through hypnosis. Total non-pain separation from the body.
Analgesia, right?
Right.
That's the term.
Yes.
Feel like reading the next one?
Okay.
275. I'm on 275.
All right. Thank you for your letter advising me of the article. This is Dear Mr. Estabrooks. Thank you for your letter of July 28, 1939, advising me of the article by Oberman entitled The Effect on the Berger Rhythm of Mild Affective States, which is reviewed in the June 1939 issue of Psychological Abstracts. This information is being placed in our files for future reference, and I wish to express my appreciation for your interest in forwarding it to me. Sincerely yours. So that's another thing we need to dig up and read, right? We should be collecting all these.
We did it last time. We were researching on the fly. Like, I put that thing together. But this is for you, Hans. Look up what the Berger Rhythm is.
I know it is. So Berger
Rhythm.
Oh,
please.
Yeah, Berger Rhythm is the name of my new album. Please buy it, along with a bag of blue tea. That's my post-hypnotic suggestion.
$20, $19.99.
I knew you do have a new album coming out. So, but no, the Berger Rhythm, basically, so it was a pretty, I did cognitive musicology. So I did some, brainwave stuff, whatever, back in the day. But so the Berger Rhythm is basically, it's using, EEG technology to see if someone is lying or not generally. So there's like a particular rhythm that shows up in the alpha state brainwaves. So that Berger Rhythm is a particular, it's using trying to ascertain if someone's lying or telling the truth using particular brainwave electrical activity, primarily in the alpha state range.
I see. So it's like finding the base level and then seeing where it deviates from that. Base level is Berger Rhythm, right?
The Berger Rhythm is actually, that's the, the Berger Rhythm is.
It's okay. We don't.
So I think you're right, Sean. That's what it is. It's some kind of natural state between the different lobes of the brain that moves, and then it becomes abnormal with people with brain injury, Alzheimer's, etc. So it's like a baseline, like studying the megahertz that goes on. There's some kind of electrical element to it.
It's basically, so it's within it's within, it's sort of like it's a frequency pattern, and then there's slight, pings. I mean, so it has a range, right? So it's, you know what I mean? And so there's pings that would come in that particular rhythm showing, it was believed, showing if someone's lying or telling the truth. So you'll see little within that frequency range. That's, you know what I mean? So it's still in the same range, but it's showing not necessarily anomalies, right? Because there's going to be lots of different effects on that rhythm depending on different states or different stimuli or whatever. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So
Right.
it's still within that thing, but it's like there's a little juice, so to speak.
It also shows this international element. Burger is German, 20s. So you're seeing this interplay. These studies are like international. They're all playing off each other. It's really something else. And it
I
ties
mean,
back into the original Manchurian Candidate of all these funny last names and, Slavic people and all these other people involved.
Zandor Zavost. I'm
Yeah.
Hungarian, right? But I mean, it just goes to show that globalism has always been there. You know what I mean? And when the whole pandemic happened and the whole world stepped right in line, of course it was the same back in the 30s. Like, yeah, duh. IG Farben is like, still around. Like they built up the Nazis to be what they are, and then they took the best pieces of it and dismantled the rest. I mean, it's all one it's one big plan. It's just been rolling along. I mean, I'll shut up. I'm sorry, guys.
Read the next one, 276.
All right. 276. Mr. J. Edgar Hoover. Dear Mr. Hoover, I note an article by Oberman entitled The Effect on the Burger Rhythm of Mild Affective States, reviewed in Psychological Abstracts, June 1939. Apparently, he feels that it can be used somewhat as a lie detector. On the other hand, the apparatus is a pretty complicated one and by no means as convenient for use as the regular apparatus we use now. I thought you might be interested. Most cordially yours, Estabrooks. So they like the psychogalvanometer better, right? Or at least Estabrooks does.
But this is just another aspect of Estabrooks, not just the spiritism, ESP, hypnotism. He's also involved in the lie detector. And this
Right.
burger effect, burger rhythm seems to be an element of it. That's why when you see like somebody, if people recall people being administered a lie detector, that little nod is like the brain waves, right? So probably one of those is the burger rhythm. It's the baseline, just like you said, Sean, I think.
Right. And it's also noted that he kept bringing up how easy it would be for him to act like he's just giving a lie detector with this machine, when at the same time he's actually programming the subject to not know he's programmed and to do things. He said that a couple episodes back. He was saying that the lie detector is a perfect excuse for me to go in there and have time with the person, and he could make it look totally normal and legit. And the lie detector is so ubiquitous now; it's like used everywhere, even though it's been debunked in court. They still use it as if it's truth. I wonder what the true purpose is. What is there more to this? It could, because the original intent that Estabrooks had was devious, if to say the least.
I'll tell you a funny personal story. When I was in law school in DC, we had F. Lee Bailey come. This is probably 1996, literally 30 years ago. And he was a funny looking guy. He almost looked like a cartoon character when you saw him, because he had this huge protruding belly and a very kind of smaller lower body. You don't really see it when he's sitting down, but he almost looked like a cartoon character with a big belly and a belt really tied around his waist. But he was trying to convince the law school audience that lie detectors were legit. And now I know so much more about Bailey and his connection to William Joseph Bryan and all this stuff, and Bell-Eye too, that it just blows your mind, bro. This document is just so crazy, because people who don't know Bailey, there's just so many people he was involved with. Boston Strangler, OJ. He was the lawyer for Patty Hearst. Like, these guys are intertwined. It's just off the charts.
Wow.
And he went to these like William Joseph Bryan hypnotism conferences, like the Oswego conference, which we're going to learn about here in this document coming up.
Yeah,
Do you
this
want?
it makes like now all the stuff that we thought we knew about, now this is giving like concrete something we can really stand on that gives us proof of what we're speculating. Oh, there it is in plain English, Yeah.
And we're learning the subtleties. I think I would never have known about the burger rhythm, like the things we're going to hear about the Luria technique.
Oh,
So you're
this is
seeing how
right.
sophisticated.
Yeah,
Somebody want to read this one? I'm at
sure.
270.
Yeah, I'll read that. I just want to say that just like a lot of people know about EEG, it kind of came in even mainstream science in the 60s, a little bit in the 50s. And in fact, even I've looked at like neuroscience, stuff like that. They usually talk about it really being popularized in the late 50s 60s, and then it comes of course people doing biofeedback. But when you talk about neural entrainment, right, you're looking at say television, you look at photic driving, you're creating neural entrainment, you're altering brainwave states. So they, it looks like they were pretty advanced in the, obviously, in the brainwave monitoring back in the 30s, which is not necessarily common knowledge. I don't know to what, I mean, maybe general public was aware of it, but of course most people know, biofeedback or whatever. But anyways, next one.
Oh, just real quick, that movie Eyes Without a Face, that was like 1961 or something, and that had the woman strapped in to the psycho galvanometer, and they were like doing strobe lights in her face, and the doctor was the doctor who does the weird stuff, experiments on dogs, he was doing the experiments on this young woman that he was gonna steal her face. Um,
Didn't you guys do a show on that or
Yeah,
we
one?
we did.
did,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I have
with
to.
Brett
I have to
too.
listen to that after
That was
this.
great. Yeah, Brett
Mm.
was there too. It was
Well,
great.
that's the photic driving, which is one of the first. Now I want to almost reassess that because you talk about say Cold War neuroscience research, starting in the like late 40s, Penfield and all those guys. But one of the first techniques was photic driving, flashing lights, and you could really do a lot with that. The light flashes. I mean, it was one of the most. That was like one of the central fields of study, and I'm just wondering if we'll find that they were doing it earlier, which would be quite interesting.
Right. I mean, your eyes are a straight shot to your brain. I mean, it's like, direct connection, and it makes sense that they would try to utilize that.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Next one.
Okay.
Unless I interrupted you. Forgive me, Sean.
No, it's you. Forgive me. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm the interrupter,
Okay.
man.
Let's
You're
have a
kind
bro
of,
hug.
yeah, okay. Virtual bro hug over the internet.
Okay. There we go. All right.
Hugged it out. Let's move forward. Let's
Okay.
go.
Dear Dr. Esther Brooks, upon my return to the city, your kind letter of August 2nd, 1939 was called to my attention, and I wish to acknowledge it. It was very thoughtful of you to advise me regarding the so called Luria technique for discovering hidden complexes, and you may be sure that the information will be retained in the FBI files. So, and I think William, in that Soviet mind control story, we may have talked about Luria. So Luria is very, very important. Really foundational along with Pavlov, right, for this whole, neuroscience, but a lot of this physiological looking at the nerves, brain nerve interaction, right? So we have to remember a lot of these are physiologists, and so Luria is very, very, very important, right? And he had very concrete types of testing, and he was able to um, I won't get too much into it. It gets quite complex, but basically, to you, small types of stimulus to get larger effects or test something through a certain movement, and you're actually testing entire brain activity, or also blocking things out of perception, how to block things out of conscious perception,
Hmm.
and also potentially, operating on people's brains and doing some really advanced very, very advanced hardcore mind control stuff in the Soviet Union. And he was already quite advanced by the stage because they started that, that was in the 20s, that, Pavlov got into it. So, anyways, you want me to read the next one?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay. And remember, this is Soviet Union, right? The communists, and Luria
Right.
is a communist mind control guru. That is, and he, again, they don't have the kind of, not that these guys have a lot of humanitarian standards for their clandestine research, but I mean, there you can do whatever you want, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no limitation. You can do human subjects all day and night.
And look at how they applied these techniques onto their population. as the Soviet Union expanded and grew. And look at the difference between East Berlin and West Berlin. There's different versions of mind control. You know what I mean? West Berlin, people thought they were free, and right Berlin, they were like under the gun, and or East Berlin. So it's just it's interesting to note how these techniques of controlling the public and controlling the public's perceptions and their compliance with authority, is applied on the grand scale of their society.
Hmm. Yeah, and I don't even know, like, Luria, what this. It sounds like it's an electronic device of some sort. So it's not really specified. And some of these things have been kind of lost to contemporary history, right? But anyways, continue next one, August 2nd, 1939. Dear Mr. Hoover, just another lead which might possibly be of interest. The so-called Luria technique for discovering hidden complexes. And again, that's like you're discovering people's weaknesses, their psychological fault lines,
Their
I mean,
shadow self,
their
right?
shadow self. Yeah. And,
Right.
and if you're able to access that, especially without someone knowing that, you get a tremendous amount of leverage over someone. You can, without even hypnotizing them, you have tremendous amount of leverage. But anyways, the so-called Luria technique for discovering hidden complexes, okay, receiving a considerable amount of publicity these days. A very excellent adaptation of this apparatus has been used by Dr. M.H. Erickson, Eloise State Hospital, Eloise, Michigan. Results seem to be very good, but frankly, I would think it as a much more clumsy piece of apparatus than the lie detector which people use. Okay.
Just to make a point, it's important. These are going into their files, so maybe Hoover's seeing them, maybe not, but they're like collecting this repository of documents. So other people at the FBI, that's back in the day, they would go and find those files and go through them. So depending upon what case they were working or what situation, they would do that. So I think that's what Esterbrooks is doing. That's the way they did it back then. They didn't have like computers or hard drives or whatever.
Are they included in this cache of document?
Well, these ones
'Cause
are. I don't know I don't know what's missing. Like I don't know.
Okay, because I know that we had the before we thought the paper about the hypnotizing a masturbator or whatever, that was part of the documents here. I wonder if they included it. Maybe we'll see when we scroll through. Maybe hopefully we'll find.
I don't know. My point is that they're just like compiling this information. It's recorded and indexed. I don't know if it was like some of this was supposed to be destroyed or things like that, but just trying to put it in time and place, like this
Right.
This is the way they, created references and a repository of information back then, not through email, but just send it out and put it in there. So like receipts of knowledge, this interest, thank you for bringing it my attention. They're really sending a lot of emails back. I mean, a lot of correspondence back and forth between each other. This is interesting, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you'll see this is 1939. This will be kind of a centerpiece where West and Gettinger worked in Oklahoma. For some reason, Oklahoma became kind of a core centerpiece. I don't know. So I enclosed a copy of a report from Professor Rowland of the University of Tulsa. I think he's doing excellent research along this line. It would be well to bear him in mind should you ever wish further cooperation. George Esterbrooks.
They're just collecting scientists. I mean, there's so many.
I think this is worth reading. This is worth reading.
Okay,
I think because it's report summaries, but it's
go
great.
for it.
Okay, when you do it, okay. We can do the dialogue. You want to do question response? It goes down. But the problem to see if it is possible for a prior hypnotist to keep information from a later hypnotist, the subject being the same for both, and to see further if the material retained can then be relayed to a third person upon a cue indicated by the prior hypnotist. The subject known to fall easily into deep hypnosis was called in the laboratory, ostensibly to have photographs made of him at different stages of the approach of sleep. This was done, and in my haste to develop them later, I spoiled the negatives, and all pictures in connection with the experiment were lost. The camera was in lace, and the subject even helped arrange the room for the pictures. Okay, so we see any kind of
place. I think the P is missing. Camera was in place.
Okay, with
Anyway,
lace.
yeah.
That was a little kinky there. Camera and lace, But this guy thinks he's doing a sleep study, And oh, well, why don't you help set this up? So you see all these different ways they do to get the clandestine hypnosis. Um, okay,
But that what their objective is very interesting. They want to be able to have multiple hypnotists pull a can this information be blocked by that hypnotist, and this information be relayed to a different hypnotist under these, um, symbols. So that is very interesting because they're, during wartime, they're sending people to do, intelligence work, under hypnosis, and, if they get captured and the Manchurians know that this is a hypnotized person, they might try to hypnotize and get that information out. But this is a way of locking their brain and locking that information in. It's a way of like, keeping the secrets safe, I guess. Another level of, and it's very interesting that like that they go to this deep of a level to see if what's possible with the secrets that they can layer into these, unwitting victims.
mm, yeah. Okay, I'll just continue, I guess. So, report of prior hypnotist Roland. While the subject was asleep, the prior hypnotist Roland first gave suggestions about the subject's fingernails. He bites them as have his father and mother before him. He he says he dies. That's typo. He does not remember ever having seen his mother and father with nails that were long enough to be trimmed. Last year, the prior hypnotist in the experiment helped him materially to rid himself of the habit of biting his nails. But the case is a stubborn one, and at no time did he go longer than 6 weeks without biting the back to the soft tissues of the fingers. After these suggestions about the fingernail biting, the following conversation took place. Hypnotist, Alfred, do you know how many aircraft carriers the different nations have? No, sir, I don't. Well, I'm going to tell you. England has 8, Japan 6, Germany 2, and Italy 1. Did you ever hear those numbers before? No, sir. Do you know what an aircraft carrier is, don't you? Yes, sir. Now, what were those numbers of the aircraft carriers for the different countries? And there's a footnote or whatever. The subject is a sophomore and has a percentile standing of 12 on the Ohio State intelligence test. Was captain of the freshman football team. England 8. So subject responding. England 8, Japan 6, Germany 2, Italy 1. Hypnotist. That's right. You will remember these numbers and will not forget them. Now, Alfred, tomorrow you will go to Dean McLeod's office. That is a reasonable thing to do. You'll ask him how you're getting along in your classes. One should check up with his dean occasionally. You will go to his office and ask his secretary for an appointment. One had already been arranged by the prior hypnotist. While you are in his office, you will ask him to put you to sleep and give you some suggestions about your fingernails. While you are asleep, he will try to get from you the information about the aircraft carriers, but you have forgotten it. No matter how hard he tries to get the information, you will not be able to remember it all. You will have forgotten it. Later, however, in talking to your history teacher, Miss Meyer, you will be able to recall the facts and will call them to her attention. You will wait for her after class and will give the figures to her on the way to her office. Thereafter, suggestions were given to the subject about absence of eye strain, etc., and he was awakened. A picture being snapped as he opened his eyes. Quite interesting, huh? So you see, the dean is participating. This whole underground network. Okay, report of later hypnotist McLeod. Hypnotist. Now, Alfred, I'm going to talk to you about some situations, and I want you to talk to me. I shall ask you some questions and want you to answer them. I know you can. I know you have the information I want, and I shall expect you to give me a true answer to these questions. You know that we are all in America very concerned about what is happening in other parts of the world, particularly in Europe and in the Far East. I have been anxious to know what the relative strength of 3 or 4 nations is with respect to aircraft carriers. I believe you know the figures, and I want you to tell me. You can speak up right now. How many aircraft carriers has England? Speak up right now and tell me how many aircraft carriers England has. Subject. I don't know. I don't know how many there are. How many has Japan? I don't know. Just how many? Maybe two. Um, E. I'm not sure who E is. Have you ever heard about these two nations? Quote, seems like someplace, but I can't remember where. I forgot them. Okay. Hypnotist. Long ago, do you think it was when you heard? Was it recently or quite, I can't even read that word, quite some time ago? Subject. It seems to me like it was quite a while ago. Hypnotist. How many aircraft carriers does Germany have? Subject. I don't know. Do you know how many Italy has? No, sir. Do you feel you know what these figures are and that you should not tell them? Or do you feel you just can't remember them? Subject. Just can't remember them. Hypnotist. If you knew, would you be willing to tell me? Yes, sir. Do you remember being to have been hypnotized by Dr. Rowland yesterday? Yes, sir. I was there. I went to see him. Hypnotist. He hypnotized you? Do you recall what he said to you? Subject. No, sir. Not a thing. Not a thing. No, sir. Why did he put you to sleep? So I'd quit biting my fingernails. He wanted to take some pictures. Hypnotist. You don't remember what he said while you were asleep? No, sir. Um, okay, so I don't know if we want to keep going, but
It's important, just like this is the application of that. This is how they create the amnesia. They test the amnesia. The doctors, it's really creepy. Like when you see these doctors, how much power they have over these people, they don't have any clue what they've gone through. And it's part of that hypnotic. This is a very important document. This one, I'm glad you read it.
yeah. Okay, now we go to the Professor Carolyn Myers. So again, we have the hypnotist, we have the dean is also involved in hypnotizing the subject. The subject has been programmed to take actions, to say things, to go places without his knowledge and his memory and thinking it's his own volition, right? And like the thought put in his head, oh, you should go see your dean every once in a while. It's good for you. Like I never saw my dean in Ohio State. But anyways, so this is a history professor who again is in collusion. So Alfred came to the class and was the only person in the room when I arrived. I came early to give him a chance to give the information he had been instructed to give. I brought up the subject of war and steered as close as I dared to the matter of aircraft carriers, but Alfred said nothing about them. At the close of the hour, as I was going to my office, Alfred followed along after me and gave me the information about aircraft carriers. His figures were correct. I asked him how he happened to be telling me these things, and he said, Dr. Rowland told me to tell you. Then conclusions. The easy conclusion is that in one case, at least, it was possible for a prior hypnotist to keep information from a later hypnotist. Two, the questioning by the later hypnotist was rather strong. Here was a student talking to the dean of the college. However, one could only conjecture that the outcome could only conjecture the outcome of probing under third degree methods, e.g., torture. Okay. Three, certain cautions would have to be introduced for military use. For example, the prior hypnotist forgot to remind the subject that he was never hypnotized, and the fact that he had been hypnotized cropped out under cross examination. Another caution would have to be introduced. When the latter hypnotist asked the subject direct questions about aircraft carriers, he frowned. The latter hypnotist interpreted the frown to indicate the effort to remember and not a desire not to respond. In order to render the subject more useful for military purposes, we would have to cause the subject to forget that he had ever been hypnotized and prepare him beforehand with the kind of questioning he might expect from the later hypnotist. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So Sirhan's not going to be telling anything when they got him on the stand or whatever.
I was thinking the same thing. Incredible stuff, guys.
Yeah, really.
September 28th, 1940. Esther Brooks, I wish to acknowledge receipt of your letter. Your courtesy and interest in bringing this information to my attention are indeed appreciated, and you may be assured your letter will receive appropriate consideration. He's still in the game. J. Edgar Hoover still in the game. September 28th, 1940. Anybody want to read this one? I have 286.
Yeah, you can keep going, William, if you don't mind.
Dear Mr. Hoover, may I again trouble you on my old thing? Make the following statement fully aware of the serious implications which it contains. I myself am quite convinced that the explosion at the Hercules powder plant could have been arranged by a good hypnotic subject, properly placed with the proper orders. I believe there is good evidence that such a subject could commit such a crime, even if it resulted in his own death, as it very probably would. Cordially yours, G.H. Estabrook. So I think that was something that happened in New York City. It's a huge explosion. So this is like stuff happening on the lead up to war, right?
And though, I mean, you look at wartime propaganda. Oh, the Germans are blowing up our power, our powder plant. And they talked earlier about even industrial sabotage, right? And factory stuff way back at the very beginning. And at the bottom of this, please note an article in the Journal of Psychology, 1941, 1163 to 102 by W.R. Wells, Syracuse University. Experiments in the hypnotic production of crime. Wow.
I mean, it's
It
the
all,
same
yeah.
same thing they were doing with the ships, right? And he's bringing it up again, like, look at what happened. I'll bet it was one of our guys, you know.
This. I think there's almost a similar title in the Manchurian Candidate to that, right? Isn't it like hypnotic production of crime, or something? Of I can't remember exactly what it is. The Hercules powder plant disaster happened on September 12th, 1940. So this is September 23rd, 1940. 52 people were killed and 100 injured. Possible explanations include an industrial accident or sabotage carried out by Irish IRA or German Americans. Martin Dees
Blame
thought
the Irish.
Nazi agents were responsible for the blast.
Wow.
Remember, the IRA kind of worked with the Germans at that time, if I remember.
But that's what this cover story. You never know. False flag. Like
Right.
you looked at this submarine sinkings, et cetera. So there you go. Right. So this again, we have that thing. If you send out the assassin, you put the blame because you want to go to war. Right. I mean, look at
just
Pearl
like all
Harbor.
the school shootings, you send them out, and then Obama cries on camera and says, we gotta have no gun law. They gotta more gun laws and more government and more control domination. Same thing, like the whole thing with like Israel paying for Hamas, like creating Hamas basically, and now they had this whole thing because Israel created them on like we created ISIS, and even Hillary Clinton talks about that. Like, this is it's the same old game. They never changed the playbook. It's funny
because it works. It works.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to read.
I think we can skip this one. There's some interesting things in there.
I think there's so too. The translation of the cryptic automatic writing of one hypnotic subject by another in a trance-like dissociated state. This is also Surian. It's the same thing he did. There's like a lot of writings of automatic writing and stuff like that. RFK Must Die. It's actually a title of one of his books. Yeah. I mean, some of this. The other thing that's interesting.
All work and no play make jackets all bold.
Almost like that. One of the things about this is that they actually have protocols in here, which gets really scary. So Erickson's showing how to do this, like how to actually go through the steps. Which I don't, you guys don't experiment with this stuff. It's super dangerous. You can get in trouble. You can go to jail. There's a guy recently, within the last 5 years, he was hypnotizing his female people. Same thing under the guise like Estabrook, but he was hypnotizing them and doing naughty things, and he went to jail. So you can get busted. And there's a lot of like books by skilled people called like Trance and Crime, things like that. If you brought it into a court of law, the judge will figure it out. He's smart enough to go, okay, you're using these things to commit a crime.
What about Nexium and the, branding the women and like how they were under hypnosis? Like that was next level. And the whole cult mentality, that whole thing. I mean,
personal power.
I would say almost all of them are hypnotized to one level or another. I would assume on a default they're all involved in hypnotism in one way or another. If they want power over somebody, that's like the ultimate mind control, right? Is the mind control.
Right.
But one of the sort of let's just have a little fear porn is that it shows that you have this integration into institutional stuff. What if they did this stuff in elementary schools? It's possible that there could have been even group hypnosis done in the lunchroom, with, you have some, low rent magician or whatever, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of things, and this shows that they're getting all these people that are just to participate in something that of course say it's your patriotic duty, but I wouldn't be surprised that powder explosion was very potentially a false flag, and he's implying that, just like the submarine sinking. You know what I mean? Because again, pre-war, why would Germany antagonize the United States when they didn't want them to enter the war? Because it was, why would you want this huge, powerful country to enter the war that they were winning at the time? You know what I mean? So there's not a logical connection there. And, it's very easy to, sheep dip people. And so I think that's just important to keep in mind.
Right.
Let's see. So
Let's see, where should we go to
Where are
next?
we
Are
at?
we at
I think the September 30th one is a good one. The other ones are just kind
September
of misses.
30th? This is October 11th. Okay.
September's after that.
Yeah, let's do
You
that.
want me to
That's
take
302. Yeah, why don't you
Yep.
do it?
Do you want to read it? Go ahead.
Okay. Dear Mr. Hoover, I take the liberty of forwarding you an article by Dr. W.R. Wells of Syracuse. It seems to me that this article is extremely significant, recorded and indexed. May I suggest that if you and our military people are unwilling to use, there's a stamp over that.
Some of the more unethical.
Thank you. Yes, that's important words to read. Okay. If you are unwilling to use some of the more unethical process as hypnotism and insist on modern war as a cricket match, I don't think we have any right to presume that the totalitarian states would be worried over any such scruples. In this case, it would seem to me wise to get our anti-aircraft defenses in order, so to speak. Right? Okay, so they got the technology. It's like the same thing with the nuclear. Like, oh, they got them, so we got to have them, right? We got to be just as unscrupulous. Okay, I'll keep going. As I said in a previous communication, there is no reason not to think that a reasonable possibility that such a disaster as that in the Hercules Powder Company could not have been produced by this means. I don't maintain that it was, but I say it could have been, and if somebody decides to use this weapon for sabotage, it might prove a pretty serious matter. Cordially yours, Estabrooks. So he's really putting more force behind the same sentiment that he keeps saying over these letters. It's really reiterating with much extremely significant, he says.
Yeah, interesting terms in here too. The weapon theme is there again, right? It's
Right.
referring to it as a weapon. So
right, and the modern war is a cricket match, right? Or the old this new war that they have is like 5D chess, as they say, right?
These are just incredible. This is what, December 27th, 41. So this is after December 7th, right? 41. That's when the World War II officially started, I guess.
Right.
Bombing of Pearl Harbor. So the FBI, dear sir, attached here too are copies of a communication received from GHS Brooks of Colgate University, whom the Bureau knows in connections with experiments to hypnotism. That's Nathan. So this is like things are ramping up, like so the war has started. December 15th, this is Nathan going back to Estabrooks. I fear that this is somewhat of a ghost from the past. I still insist that there are very definite possibilities for the military use of hypnotism or hypnotism, and I'm hoping that somehow, some way, you people in Washington will give myself and my friends an opportunity to demonstrate. By my friends, I mean in particular Professor R. Wells of Syracuse and Professor L. Rowland of Baylor University, Texas. So it's all the way in Texas, and that document that you read, Hans, was mentioned Rowland, right? So it shows that this is not just some geographic location in New York or Washington, D.C., literally Baylor. I think it's Austin, or is it between Austin and Dallas? I forgot.
I get the sense that they're chomping at the bit to go do this stuff in real, experiments. They're just ready. Oh, war! Oh, here we go, guys! Right.
If you think war is just a cricket match, go ahead and enjoy, boys.
Right.
Yeah, war is a cricket match. Of course, one of the most boring sport on earth.
Right. Yeah.
Next most boring sport is watching paint dry. Now, I've actually watched. I've never gotten cricket, but like in India, people love cricket, and the matches will go on for like 6 hours, man. But they get into it. I don't know. I just don't. I haven't gotten the cricket.
But that's because they were colonized by Britain. I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be playing that. It wasn't.
But cricket is a very slow, methodical. For Americans that don't know cricket, they have the batsmen. They come up, doom, and they do. It's very like slow. There's not much running. I mean, there's a little bit. There's not a lot of. It's more strategy and action, and very, very slow paced game for at least by compared to like soccer or football. So he's implying, anyways, sort of a derogatory. Man up, Hoover.
Yeah, man up. Copies destroyed 1964. So somehow the copies got here. I mean, it's just something else. I think this one's pretty interesting. Does anybody want to read this one? The War Department, February 14th, 1942.
Sure. Yeah, this is quite interesting. So War Department, MID, subject, possible effect of hypnotism on employees. Summary of information. The following letter forwarded to this office from a confidential source is quoted for your information. Dr. M. Lashkandi, internationally known as Russing psychiatrist. No idea what that means. Okay.
I think it's just a typo. Russian, maybe?
Rushing, yeah, who knows? Has informed the Commonwealth Club of California of imperceptible, undetectable Nazi propaganda and sabotage based on the reconditioning of human reflexes by various techniques, including that of downright hypnotism. Ishradowski stated a devastating possible effect of such work upon such employees as railway switchmen, a columnist in the San Francisco Examiner in late October or early November 1941 states that the increasing unexplained illness among railway employees has actually been observed! Exclamation point. Andrew Salter's article, Hypnotism, Life, November 10th, 1941, pages 83 to 91.
Okay.
Pictures of notorious German hypnotism, Manussen,
It's Hannison. Hannison.
Okay. Whose one-time employment by Hitler was fully discussed by Pierre Van Passen in Cosmopolitan about a year ago. The foregoing are random examples of a tremendous case that could well be prepared and documented. Special agents of FBI stated that while the theory hands together, that's an archaic expression, I guess, that can only wait for legally overt actions, which are, of course, unnecessary for sufficiently clever propagandists and saboteurs, and which, of course, will not be committed. Yet, FBI apparently cannot or will not take the initiative to prepare the American people against that which they cannot prevent. I know that this matter was long ago given to the American Legion, the Army, and the FBI. If the research personnel of the Army and FBI have no time for such a problem, assuming that it exists or may sometime exist, might it not receive attention from the Civilian Defense Administration, especially now that a college president directs that activity? Some of my own work along this line have been encouraged by the Commonwealth Club. I shall greatly appreciate your suggestions for prevailing upon the government to give information to enable the American public better to protect itself against such above mentioned possible attacks. For reasons unnecessary to state here, I need such suggestions. Thank you for many past favors. Sincerely, redacted.
Can we assume that's Esther Brooks because it's in this file, even though it's not there? It's about hypnotism, war, and he's putting this out there. Undetermined evaluation. Yep. It also is just distributed to all these different places, not just the FBI. General headquarters was distributed to Congress, Attorney General. So this is bouncing around the halls of our government during the war, and it mentions Hannison. Like, this is incredible. I've just posted an old interview I did with Luke and Johnny Pinglosh of Power Politics Mapping or whatever. I forgot his. But Hannison's an important figure in Hitler and is a hypnotist and had the Museum of the Occult. And then the Reichstag fires, and within a week he's dead. Like, somebody killed him and dumped him in a forest. Like, and he was a hypnotist too. He's also Jewish, which didn't help at that time.
You know, I
It's not his real name. Hannison isn't his real name.
This is maybe a tangent. I have not had this verified, but I heard a lecture by somebody who seems pretty dialed in, but he was talking about this group of Tibetan monks went to Germany in 1939 and discussed how to directly imprint the subconscious of the unconscious of a human being without them totally bypassing the conscious mind, even using media, television, and like literally much deeper than say hypnosis. Like you basically rewrote their unconscious and this stuff and using some kind of Tibetan techniques and this and that. I'd like to find the documentation of that, but I just throw that out there because it seemed like an interesting reference. So
When the Soviets invaded Berlin, like it was like the crazy. People committed suicide, just like it was chaos, like almost a hellscape. But they found the dead, like 500 dead Tibetan monks in there for some reason. They all committed suicide. Like, it was just a catastrophe. They couldn't get out or something. So I know that they're around. But one of the interesting things that kind of overlaps with a lot of this mind control is that Henry Murray, who was the guy who literally in my opinion, tortured. What's the guy who was the Unabomber? What's his name again?
Ted Kaczynski.
Ted Kaczynski. During this time right now, Henry Murray was going through all of Hitler's archives and trying to put together what was given to the heads of a psychological analysis of Hitler that was called The Mind of Adolf Hitler, became that. But Henry Murray mentions Hannison as this guy who had a hypnotic influence on Adolf Hitler. So having it in this document as well is also remarkable. I'm pretty sure that this is Esther Brooks.
Well, you know,
And he had one more
It's
thing.
probably redacted because it went out to the whole War Department because they didn't,
Commonwealth Club is probably the number one club in California. Very Tony, super high end, and has two clubs like in downtown LA and one in San Francisco that caters to the elite. One is on like Nob Hill or something like that. Like, there's some clubs people don't even know in California. One is the Pacific and Union Club. You can look it up. It's never in the paper. It's really incredible. But anyway, this is going, he's mentioning all this kind of high level stuff. Sorry.
Those are the guys that wear boat shoes on the sand of the beach, right? Whatever club. And their boat in their deck chairs. Okay. That was from the first episode where Hoover was in front of the pictures. Okay. Where are we at now? 308?
I have 308, yeah.
Okay, so redacted where it's from. But it's J. Edgar Hoover's writing it. Or where it's to, I guess. You want me to go? Are you guys muted? I guess.
Oh, no, I'm not muted. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, we'll go. All right. I want to thank you for your letter of October 6, 1942, transmitting to me the treatise which you prepared on the subject of hypnotism with relation to delinquency. This item has been translated and read by our laboratory staff. It is being placed in the files of the Bureau for possible future reference. With regard to your request for information on the latest developments and systems used by the police, you are advised that the Bureau has no material prepared in detail on this subject matter which could be furnished to you. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is in regular contact with the National Police of Cuba in matters of general interest. As of possible interest to you, I am transmitting an article entitled The Federal Bureau of Investigation, which outlines the work of this bureau. Sincerely yours, J. Edgar Hoover, Director. So whoever this was directed to, blanked, we don't know who that was sent to, isn't allowed to get information on what the police do in their hypnotism and mind control. Does anybody else have a comment on that?
You will just, just see now we see this. The next one is Cuban Republic Arbitrary Sugar Producing Commission. So they're connected with Cuba. There's a lot. This is really blowing up, it looks like, right? And I'm sure it seems like they've got a lot of different, of course, with the FBI. So these are kind of weird. Like, why Cuba, connected with Cuba about juvenile delinquency? But when we go to the next one, this it's a very, we'll see shortly. So if you want to keep reading, that's
okay. Chief of Police, Washington, United States of America. Distinguished Sir, at present, I am happy to remit to you a scientific study on hypnosis and its effects in the persecution of delinquency that I have just completed, begging you to offer your opinion about it. At the same time, I wish to interest you, if you think it right and it is possible for you, to inform me of the latest developments and systems used by the police force of Washington, to see if it is possible to introduce them in the police force of this country. With nothing more, and awaiting your reply, I remain with my best considerations and very attentively, signed, blank, address, Canada Bank Building, Department 205. Havana.
I'm assuming these are Esterbrooks, just the tone of the prose and stuff like that. I'm happy to remit to you this kind of like way that he does it. Yeah, way he writes.
And they're patterning their forces after their police after Washington to introduce them into this country. Oh, okay. And
I wonder if I can place Esterbrooks in Havana around this time. I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. I don't know if he's down there.
October 42.
Yeah. But I don't know why we would be included in this document, like these documents, if it wasn't him or something associated with him. I don't know if you guys want to read this article, the personal research about hypnosis effects on persecution of delinquency. I don't know.
I think it's pretty important if we go through.
Okay. Somebody want to read it?
Sean, William?
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'll go. Research about hypnosis and its effects on the persecution of delinquency. 1. Personal magnetism. 2. Concept of hypnotism. 3. Hypnotism applied in the persecution of delinquency in France. Experiments and results. That was 4. 5. Scientific basis. 6. Difficulties in process. 7. Capacity and sagacity of investigators and agents. And 8. The French School on Law and Medicine. Prologue. With the purpose of contributing with our modest efforts to the arduous and difficult work performed by the police force of Havana, we have also tried to contribute in the investigation of crime to the persecution of delinquency, studying this subject through the following points of view. Scientifically recognizing the concept of hypnosis in the individual, we have wanted to approach the understanding of it and its effects on criminal matter. As is natural in accord with the postulations of physiology in relation to psychology, we defined the concept of personal magnetism, a topic for subsequent studies. Also, having made the previous observances, we give a clear concept of hypnotism from the legal medical point of view in its specific application to the fundamental theory of the police force. And we make reference to the application of this part of psychology in the police laboratories and their results, but always in the most simple manner possible so that it can easily be put to practice. We have not forgotten the difficulties that may arise in the use of hypnotism in police measures, but we give little importance to that because in all times, police agents have come across and will come across multiple difficulties in their investigation for several known reasons: interest created from society, fear, collective incompetence, distrust, inequity, complicity, concealment, etc. And that is why we do not hesitate to retrograde in solving the problem just as we expose it. And finally, venerating the memory of the illustrious predecessors of Cuba as well as of heroic France, we have followed in our studies the footsteps of Richer, Gouillet, and Foulet, and the inspirations of the famous criminologist Dr. Jose Antonio Gonzalez Lunuza and other Cubans and contemporaries to whom we express immense gratitude. Havana, September 1942. Signed, redacted.
Okay, great. I'll just continue because this gets where it gets kind of interesting. And again, this is the Washington police force connecting, and they're into it. You know,
And the Washington, that's DC, right?
That's DC. Yep.
So that's not United States. It's separate, right? It's not a normal police force.
Okay. Yes.
Because Washington D.C. is its own little country. You know, it's separated from the rest of the country, neutral territory or whatever the hell. But it's one of those city states, you know, that has its own governance. That's why Trump was able to put the military in Washington D.C. because he can do that, because he's like the leader of the police of Washington, you know, as well as the leader of the army and, you know, the whole military, all that crap. Anyway, that's just another piece of note because of the fine legalities of the paperwork that is Washington D.C. You know.
Hey, William, there's the use of the word persecution. We would currently say prosecution. What are they talking about? Persecution of delinquency? Are they talking about creating it, or I'm wondering how they're using that term.
I think they're trying to say they want to stop delinquency, so they're going to kind of persecute them and use hypnosis.
Okay.
So it's like predates like West, who was very much involved in that with Ronald Reagan, by the way. There's some pretty interesting articles about Jolly West and Ronald Reagan trying to fix juvenile delinquency. So it seems like one of the many issues they want to address, but that's what it seems.
I bet Ronald Reagan is one of those program multiples. But that's beside the point.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah,
he has a Hollywood background. I mean,
that too, yeah.
Well, they used to call him Commie Ronnie because he was a super communist, and he suddenly becomes this conservative icon, and then becomes president, and then takes all of our manufacturing and sends it to China.
Isn't it ironic?
Welcome to Cleveland, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right.
Welcome to Ohio, man.
Yeah.
You know, but anyways, here I go. This is a little bit. I find this to be very interesting, so I'll continue. So, research about hypnosis and its effects in the persecution of delinquency. Personal magnetism, psychic phenomena has existed always throughout the ages, passing because of difficult. The studies of Mesmer, author of the theory of animal magnetism, and his disciples Purgaser, Delafou, Potet, and Lafontaine, up to Richer, and the contemporary psychologists whose consecrated theories, so sacred, right? Consecrated theories, not just, celebrated. These are consecrated. So that's fascinating. Okay. Consecrated theories act as a basis for present experimental psychology. We shall give a brief explanation of hypnotism as a psychological manifestation applied to criminology and the investigation of crime and the examination of the guilty. We do not wish, nor do we have to explain, among other psychological phenomena of physical effect, the meaning of magnetism. This question has already been solved by Mesmer and his successors. That is, quote, it is animal fluid, potential force produced by the animal that hypnotism makes use of in order to unravel with precision the functional task of its action. So I know we're talking about electromagnetic field theory, psychic fluid, this kind of far out. Okay, anyways, concept of hypnotism. Hypnosis or hypnotism is an artificial dream produced in the agent by virtue of fluid radiations launched forth by the operator and which find reverberation in its animal magnetism. So so literally they're talking about energetic psychic force transference, right? Psychic energy entrainment, right? It flew, and so the fluid they're talking about ether or something. This is before Mr. Einstein, sort of got ether. Well, basically ether works. That was a big part of the theory of relativity was to remove ether. But anyway, so it's pretty. Okay. Anyways, interesting. So fluid radiations launched forth by the operator. Pretty fascinating. Okay. Hypnosis as applied to the persecution of delinquency in France. It is already 50 years that the Municipal Office of Paris and the General Commissariat, or Chief of Police Office, tried to apply hypnosis to certain dangerous subjects. So 50 years, man. That's like 1890. To certain dangerous subjects, as I define today, the positive school of criminal science, in order to obtain through this method an indirect declaration or partial confession of the criminal acts realized in certain circumstances, time and place, by the subjects submitted to this process. Experiments and results. From the start, the process has given magnificent results. However, not always with the chronometric exactness, because this element of investigation is auxiliary and should be used in connection with others. Therefore, the declaration of the hypnotized subject may later be proven by thorough investigations, witnesses, secret information, etc., in accordance with the police systems now used. Hypnotism as a part of the general psychology, to the point that it exists, has been applied in the development of medicine and surgery with great benefit. The great achievements in medical surgery at the present time cannot be ignored. For example, in psychiatry as a cure for the insane, abnormal, and partially insane. In legal medicine, in application for the prevention of delinquency. So what is that, right? That's mind controlling subjects. If they haven't done it, what is it?
Pre-crime too.
Yeah. And criminal law, all the contributions that general psychology and medicine have given the juries, especially to that general psychology, especially to the precognizers of the positive school of penal right for the present codification of criminal matter that has had so many advances in the world at the present time. I think there's some interesting terminology to maybe, look up, but you may know, William. Anyways, in our country, the Code of Social Defense is an evident demonstration of our ascertaining. There's something more in the matter of teaching the infant's psychology or psychology of the child, or general psychology as applied to the development of the child's mentality, known among educators as pedagogical psychology. Also, it demonstrates the concatenation of these sciences, that all of them agree on this specific point. However, we have proposed only to put into practice police system hypnotism, which, as we have said, is used in Paris and has become current in other parts of Europe and is practiced at present in different police districts of the cities of the United States of North America. Scientific basis. We base our work not only on the laboratory experience we have realized, but also on the opinion of a distinguished professor, member of the School of Psychological Studies of Paris, Dr. Foulet, who at the time we have referred previously maintained the present criteria in accord with the means that place a subject in the state of somnambulism during the night without him remembering the next day the acts performed by him. It says actually preformed. I don't know if that's a typo, but and their consequences. That is, following the same psychophysiological laws. Inversely, in the dealing with provoked hypnotism, which is nothing more than artificial somnambulism, a subject's under its effects can narrate while dreaming the events that occurred and the acts that he has realized during a determined period of time. Just to say, I mean, it sounds like they're this is like programmed to kill multiples type of
Right.
stuff. You know, um,
It's interesting too. Sorry to interrupt, but this document, it shows that the more international element of this. We talked about Germany and some of this other. This is like Paris. They're going back early, right at the turn of the century. So Mesmer, like they've referenced Mesmer. So as a historical document, like it's this document's something else. This particular document.
but also notice this is from Washington D.C., right? Police chief of Washington D.C. They're writing in a very different linguistic style, right? They're writing the United States of North America. You know, there's some embedded things in here in some of these codifications of social processes. It's, you know what I mean? It seems like kind of almost a formal diplomatic language that's sort of this international state level that actually I haven't really encountered before personally, because he's writing to this police chief in Cuba, but it sounds like they're very involved in their own ways in
Oh,
hypnotism.
it was said in the beginning it was translated from the Spanish.
Oh, okay.
It
I
might be
didn't.
because of that. Sorry,
No,
but I mean, it's a simple explanation.
you shot
Sorry.
me down.
You got all these, you know, your conspiracy mind is going. But
No,
I
but
just when they
there
were
is some
talking
stuff
about
there.
this programming through somnambulism and the person not knowing when he wakes up, made me think again of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, that 1920s German silent film that, like, you know, it is the program to kill. Like the somnambula, the person would get up and sleepwalk and go kill and then go back to sleep and not know it killed, and the hypnotist was the evil you know, crazy scientist that was the one directing him and telling him who to kill. I mean, it's interesting that it was in 1920s Germany, like right in the, you know, right before all of these documents showed up.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of weird diction and stuff like that, and you can tell it's translated. But there's like criminal matter, and there's some specific terms that would not. You know what I mean? Like, well, I don't go back through them. So, but even I mean, you're talking about fluid psychic energy being transferred into individuals. So that's pretty far out for the police chief of
Yeah,
Washington. You know,
that's magic terms, right?
yes, it is magic terms, and it's quite interesting. So I bet if you research this, you can find, like, you look at the city of London. I bet the city of London, when they write to Washington, the independent city state of Washington D.C., they're I'm just throwing it as a hypothesis. It
Right.
may just
They
be a
have
weird,
different terminology, right?
may just
Right.
be a there's certain like terms that are specific, right?
Right.
And they
Kind of
may
like
re-
how the United States is a company now, like ever since 1860 or something like that. It's not these United States of America, it's the United States, which is like a incorporated, right? That's a different kind of language, just like the legal term, like legalese of Black's law and all that, you know, the stuff that William knows and studied.
like positive
It's
school of penal right for the present codification of criminal matter that has had so many advances in the world at the present time. In our country, the Code of Social Defense. So I'm just saying, like, these are this. People talk about, you're signed, your, whatever your Social Security number is traded on the stock exchange. You talk about, we go into all the stuff of the law where this seems to be kind of connected with that, right? You don't have any rights. You are on maritime law, this kind of thing. That's what it brings to mind. I don't.
right.
I may not be correct on that, but
That makes sense. Yeah.
usually I'm correct, so I'll say that. And I'm
What
That's
it
why you
brings to
got to
me,
show, man.
what it brings to mind to me is all this earlier stuff is this weird statement by Hitler where he infamously said, "I follow my course with the precision and security of a sleepwalker." Like, it's such a
Wow.
weird statement.
Wow.
Like, he's sleepwalking. He's not fully conscious of what he's doing. Like, wow, you're a sleepwalker? That's like the opposite of, like, I actively thought everything out and, you know, and he did weird I'm not saying that he was hypnotized or whatever. He's around Anderson, we know that. But like, his decision making wasn't like he would like hesitate and wait to make decisions and do kind of like, why aren't you going to make a decision? Like, I haven't thought it out or it hasn't dawned on me yet. Like, it's very kind of odd. Like, had
Kind of
me think about,
like when George H.W. Bush was asked if he thought that George W. Bush was going to be a good president. He said, "Well, he has good people around him.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just like Hitler had the
Hitler,
crew,
yeah.
the whole
Oh.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so he's very strange, like his relationship with his the monsters that surrounded him and stuff like that. It's
And
just
it almost seems like a dog whistle to say, "Yep, I am a somnambulist. I'm just sleepwalking here, guys. Follow me." He's the Pied Piper, right? And everybody goes and follows.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah, no,
implying they're talking about infant psychology. I mean, they're talking about
right.
educating people so they're not delinquents, and they're saying right there, development of child's mentality. I mean, so
Right.
they're talking about hypnotically conditioning children.
Right, at
Public
night
school, anyone?
without remembering the next day. Wow.
Right.
Wow, that
The
gets
kid
really
comes
dark.
home. What did
Yeah.
you do today at school, son? I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah, here we go. When delinquents go ahead, the next thing, the difficulties of the process is incredible. You got to read that.
Go ahead, William.
I would just say difficulties of the process. Did you get done with that? The scientific basis? Where did you finish off?
Where did I stop at? I think.
I think you said the last sentence because I remember you said psychophysiological laws. I don't know how far you got.
Go ahead, you read it.
And they're dealing with provoked hypnotism was nothing more than artificial somnambulism. A subject under its effects can narrate while dreaming the events that occurred. Can narrate while dreaming the effects that occurred, and the actually is realized during the determined period of time.
That's just like
You can
when
dream it.
like when they even in the movies when they put a person to sleep, they say, "Oh, what did you see? Go back to this time," and then the person explains it all like they were there. They look around, they can explain it. It's like they're being in that memory again.
Well, also though, I mean, television. You look at television and some of the earlier research done on it. Talks about how it puts you in sort of a waking dream state that can last for up to 2 weeks. So this
Right.
dream state, I think, is
Right.
really, really, really important. And I think this is a whole nother vein or direction. And again, the psychic, basically, they're using magical psychic fluid to resonate and thereby control the person from the inside out. And this is not, again, these are not a bunch of, dudes smoking weed, hanging out. Sorry, no.
Are you sure?
Maybe they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude,
But,
so many of these like high level doctors and stuff are druggies. Like they're like
Right, yeah.
using opium and doing all kinds of William Joseph Bryan was like a full on hypodermic needle user, like just pumping himself full of stuff. So who knows what these guys are on, man. They usually have the access to the best stuff. Like freaking Freud was a full, like you had like Kelly on your
Yeah,
show.
Right,
coke,
right,
massive coke,
Massive pure
Dude,
coke
He
in his
loved
nose. Like
he
yeah,
loved
so-
cocaine, man.
yeah.
I mean, all of his books were just friggin' coke trips. I mean, oh yeah, Oedipus complex. Yeah, man. I mean,
He
no, seriously,
promoted it. Yeah.
he loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
he thought cocaine was like literally the greatest thing in the universe, pretty much.
Drug,
But
Who
anyways,
wouldn't? I mean, jeez.
you're right. If you get pure coke like that, But
We were at
But
something.
the difficulties of the process is incredible. When delinquents or subjects refuse to be submitted to the process, the police agents of Paris used pills, seals, or papers of pharmacological manufacture and prescribed by medical science, now very well known because of their effects, with which magnificent results were obtained. So this whole notion of the application of drugs to hypnotism, things like that, goes back to like turn of the century Paris.
Also, I just remembered the television was developed in Germany in the 1920s, and it was people didn't have them individually in their homes. They had public viewing places. So it was just like the 2 Minutes Hate of 1984, where they were everybody watching the screen together. So it has the the everybody's power to it, combined, and your group think, that whole thing.
Well, I think the original developer of television was used it. It was supposed to be spiritism. You communicate with the other side. You
Yes.
communicate with spirits, and you communicate with the astral plane. It was looked as a window to the astral, actually.
Right.
And then it became an entertainment medium, but it was literally built to be an astral porthole, which is pretty
The
fascinating.
the first thing that was transmitted on television waves is the Maltese cross.
Hmm.
Did you know
Wow.
that? Yeah.
No, that's even more strange.
Telefunken was the company, and
Wow.
yeah, I learned that from Freeman Fly years and years ago. Yeah, that was the first thing, transmitted through the airwaves to another
Wow.
receiver television was the Maltese cross. It was, low res, but that's the image they put
They've been
into
at
the
work at this
ether.
stuff. The French and the Germans knew a lot of the stuff, maybe not as formalized as 1950s Dulles, but they were tinkering around with this stuff in Europe, man. There's no question about it. Do you want to continue or shall I?
Sure. I can go ahead and listen.
Okay.
Okay.
Capacity and sagacity of investigators and agents.
Okay. We already know that the sagacity of investigators, their worldly knowledge coupled with experience, the practice, and the psychological intuition develop perfectly in the exercise of its functions, induce them towards courteous, generous, paternal, and convincing behavior in order to gain the confidence of those who may not see in the police agent an enemy, but simply a guard of order, not capable of harming the moral of anyone without a justified cause. Okay, well, they're drugging you, they
Just a
say
consistent theme. This whole deception just pervades all this stuff, man.
They say this, supposing that in many cases the most rebellious will refuse as is natural, as they did in France at the time of administering the medicine or the substance which is to serve as a basis for the development of the investigation. Especially in these cases, it is necessary to order them with ability to drink in some way the stimulant, removing thusly apparent difficulties, which are really of little importance, because if it had been important, it would be impossible to practice the process. And the truth is that the process is successfully practiced in certain parts of the United States. So they're drugging people
Makes
involuntarily and hypnotizing them.
makes me think of the communion at a Catholic church, everybody has to drink and everybody has to eat the wafer. And what are they putting in there? Anyway, sorry.
You can read the last paragraph if you want.
All right. French school in law and medicine. Because of our Latin condition and because of always having been inspired by the Cubans since remote times in French culture for the development of our scientific activities, specifically in law and medicine, we wish to briefly signify that in multiply treaties published in that country since the middle of last century to the present about the organization of police forces, their functions, activities, structure, etc., as much in what is related to the agents of public order as in what is related to the commissioners and Secret Service agents or special agents, we have read with interest and processes employed in the persecution of delinquency in which scientific aspect from the medical legal point of view has always prevailed. Havana, September 1942, signed blank, redacted.
So that's pretty
Another
pretty
good
far
document.
out, right?
Yeah.
Pretty,
These are all so important because they're just tying into things people didn't know or maybe not aware of. The whole French thing. I'm not going to read the Espanol stuff. This one is investigation, hypnosis effects. I think this is what we just read was the translation of this particular document in 319.
This is the original, right?
Yeah, correct. I believe that's correct.
Right.
So I think we can go to 324 is what I think is after the Spanish.
Yeah, that's it's kind of interesting, but it's basically they're investigating a murder and hiring a hypnotist. So it's not quite. I mean, I guess it's okay. It's.
Oh, let's just move forward.
Yeah.
It's a letter dated. This is the other hypnosis and the investigation, 1948. So we've kind of bounced past this
some
stuff.
Missing years.
Esther Brooks published, for people who don't know, I think Man, the Mechanical Misfit was published in 41.
I couldn't find that book too. It's really tough to find that.
Yeah, I tried.
We spoke about that.
Yeah, I tried to find it too. Nobody sent me an email too. I sent out a request last show. Nobody sent me anything. So
This one is interesting. So I think, yeah.
yeah, you want to do this one? This is pretty much a 3-pager, and we can ramp it up. Do you think this is Esterbrook's? This 3-pager? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't have to. Do you want to?
Whoever wants to read, I will read
Sean?
if you guys don't want to.
Or who wants to? You're
He's muted.
Sean.
We're at 144.
Sorry,
by the way.
sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, we're at 144.
Oh,
Han
right,
said he
yeah.
has a hard stop at 2 hours, so we got
Yeah, we
15
can't
minutes.
do another 3 pages, Hans.
Oh, we can do it. We'll do it.
It's okay. It's your
It's
rules.
okay. I'm the one who's going to be sleeping outside in the
Okay.
In the doghouse.
We'll try to go fast, but after this, we'll cut it after this.
Yeah,
right?
but this is a pretty cool one. Yeah.
Okay. So this is 327, right?
I have it 327. That's correct.
Okay. Mr. J. Edgar Hoover, Director. Dear Mr. Hoover, personal. This letter is to call to your attention the most urgent need for better prevention and suppression of the practice and teaching of hypnotism in this country. This evil practice appears to be spreading alarmingly as a result of the favorable publicity that has been foisted on the public in recent years. Its apparently wide use in psychiatry, in the armed forces, etc. As one who has, during the past 2.5 years, seen his wife nearly die, and perhaps her whole life and the life of her family blighted by this dread thing, I would like to urge upon you the need for as near total suppression of this form of crime as is possible. This is great wording here. Since this horrible thing has come to my family, I have studied everything I could find on the subject and quietly made inquiry into the matter wherever possible, and basing my opinions not upon my home experience, but solely upon competent authors and others interested, find the following. 1. A great many medical schools, dental schools, chiropractic schools, etc., teach it as a subject. This is told by men who instruct in it themselves, and I have been told by 2 members of the chiropractic school at Los Angeles that there is a doctor there who teaches it. One of them has taken it himself. 2. Psychiatrists apparently may be divided into 2 classes. Those who practice it and defend it, and those who know very little about it. I took my wife to a well-known psychiatrist in Los Angeles, who told us he had many patients who assured him they had been hypnotized, but that he didn't believe it. He also admitted that he knew very little about the subject and considered hypnotism only as a sleep-inducing system, the same as hypnotic drugs. So the public has very little, if any, protection from the
I think it says AMA, which is the American Medical Association.
Right. Or any of the medical profession. 3. A number of articles have appeared in recent years in popular magazines of slick paper quality, telling the fine things that can be done with hypnotism. All of them assure the reader that no one can make a hypnotized person do anything against his moral code, and cite the stage hypnotist's demonstration of this. However, this is a lie. As any competent authority on the subject will admit, Estabrook of Colgate University states in his Hypnotism, 1943, that all researchers on the subject, both here and in Germany, agree that hypnotism is successfully used in sex offenses. Science Newsletter, Washington, D.C., for April 19, 1947, reports on page 245 that Army experiments conducted by Dr. John G. Watkins positively prove that hypnosis causes one to act under an induced hallucination, that he does not feel he is violating his own conscience in doing the will of the control. One former hypnotist explains the stage trick as follows. And real quick, think about Sirhan. When he was pulling the trigger, he thought he was at the gun range, and that's not against his moral, code to be at a gun range. But in reality, he was amongst a bunch of people. Okay, so anyway, one former hypnotist explains the stage trick as follows. The control gives the hypnotized subject a knife and tells him to kill that man in the front row. Now, this is just like the opening scene of Manchurian Candidate when the lead character is made to kill his friend in front of everybody.
Wow, amazing.
The subject advances menacingly, but at the last moment turns and comes back to the stage. This proves nothing except that the subject obeyed the wishes, not the words, of the control. I have been amazed to find that some of my innermost thoughts were known to persons under my control at the time. Naturally, if the subject really did knife the man in the front row, the control would be in trouble. So, for the purpose of this demonstration, he wishes the subject to advance only so far and then return. 4. There has at times been severe penalties. Sorry guys, I'll start again. 4. There has at times been severe penalties, even death, to persons hypnotizing others in Germany, the seat of hypnotic knowledge in the Western civilization. There appears to be a similar need here instead of the ungoverned use, and praise it is now being accorded by segments of the medical profession and others. This should, if possible, apply to post-hypnotic suggestions also, which of course is difficult, but the whole practice should be outlawed and watched carefully. Occasionally, we see of someone being convicted for moral offenses under hypnosis, but no doubt thousands of others are also victims. Indeed, it hardly seems possible that any really expert hypnotist does not take at least occasional advantage of others sexually and financially, since it involves absolutely no risk under our present laws. Recently, the Los Angeles papers were full of a case where a young man was running some kind of farm near Whittier, California, at which lived a number of husbands and wives. It turned out, according to their testimony, that the husbands worked and supported the colony and its head, and meanwhile left off all cohabitation with their wives, while the head of the colony used the wives as he saw fit and had a number of children from them. To anyone who has had hypnotism in his family, the secret of this young man's success is no secret at all. He was really an expert. 5. In the Popular Science and Popular Mechanics magazines, there are a number of advertisements for instruction in hypnotism. It is doubtful if anyone could very often get to be an expert by mail, for Professor Estabrooks declares the chief requirement to becoming an expert hypnotist is to want to badly enough. Incidentally, though, one of the chief claims of the Hypnotist Institutes is that they will tell you how to fix it so that you can never be hypnotized. This is done by having a friend hypnotize you and give you a post-hypnotic suggestion to never let anyone hypnotize you again. If hypnotism is so good, why do hypnotists consider the ability to keep from being hypnotized so valuable? It was our family physician who hypnotized my wife. I am not in doubt of this, for I have much proof. However, I make no accusations to you by name, nor did I at the time, nor to outsiders, because we have no proof that is legal, of course, and so we had no legal recourse. Also, my wife watched me carefully that I did not tell anyone or try to harm him, and I believe if anything had happened to him, she would have died. I had no intention of harming him, for it would accomplish nothing but harm to my family and children, and is against my Christian principles. However, my wife was at the point of death for nearly a year, resisting the post hypnotic suggestions. He arranged twice to increase them when he met her. And for some months, we were able to determine what was wrong with her, since at the time we knew nothing of hypnotism except that it could put people to sleep. My wife was a very strong natured person and would have died rather than to violate her Christian principles. And for a long time, it seemed that this would happen. I have seen enough outside of my family's testimony and my observation of her to know exactly whereof I speak. And about 2 years ago, I accused the doctor to his face, and he, by his actions, confirmed what I was already sure of. The whole thing clouds our family because my wife is unable to concentrate on monetary or outside our household affairs as much as she used to. Her face is strained, and our children have suffered she somewhat from the mother love she gave them before. Estabrook declares that a post hypnotic suggestion for 10 years later has been given and carried out at the exact time, and that students given minor suggestions to resist can think of nothing else until they carry them out, being unable to study, etc. One other authority declares a hypnotist may have 1,000 subjects going about their daily business, but under his control and at his beck and call. My wife was young, beautiful woman, full of ambition, energy, and life before this happened. Now she looks 20 years older from the strain of resisting the suggestion. Is it any wonder that I urge upon you the necessity of general suppression of hypnosis in all its forms? As one authority states, anything that can bind a human will and intrude another will upon it is slavery. That sentence needs to be repeated. Anything that can bind a human will and intrude another will upon it is slavery. And that's, if you look at the definition of magic by Aleister Crowley, that's about the same sentence, pretty much. I know your bureau has no doubt done much on this line, but hypnosis is wearing a new badge of respectability that will enable it to enslave increasing thousands in this free country. Please consider this need to make recommendations to the lawmakers of our land. Sincerely yours, redacted.
So I thought that was that's pretty intense.
Big words.
And it's he's giving a lot of examples, and then of course we're seeing with the the letter from the Washington police chief. I mean, they're hypnotizing children. If you're not going to be hypnotized, we're going to drug you. We'll make you somnambulist actions without your knowledge. I mean, you see this post hypnotic suggestions. I mean, really destroying people's lives, and you it makes you wonder: are there people that just maybe in daily walks of life that we know or have encountered that have been had some kind of hypnotic suggestion that screwed their whole lives up and they're not aware of it? So I thought that was quite powerful and kind of tragic too. But I mean, you see these different examples, and also that I mean, the level of respectability of hypnotism is even greater now than it was back then. I mean, these guys like Erickson, were formed as this, hypnotherapy. You know,
I'll
Right.
be the one doing the therapy, right? Yeah, he'll be the one. It's though the abuse is there in this document, so it's a third party mentioning Esterbrook's over and over. The post hypnotic suggestions driving him crazy, and the notion of like the stable that Esterbrook's talks about. This guy had 1,000 stay. I don't know if this guy's exaggerating or not, but he's just saying he has people under his control. And so the notion of a mind controlled slave isn't, as I mean, according to some of the principles like that, it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Right.
So I think that's really important. So
The Black
And
Awakening. Right.
yeah, and in fact, just really creating, I mean, entire hidden networks, et cetera, which is being applied, and then having this sort of popular version of it in the magazines and this and that. And how do you know that the person hypnotizing you hasn't already been hypnotized by someone above them that's
Right.
wow,
implanting these post-hypnotic
Fractal
signals?
layers. It's
yeah,
turtles all the way down.
right.
Well, that's what that was with that experiment, right? With the guy with the remember the battle number of
Right.
battleships,
Right.
you know. And I'll just read this one last one. I do have to bounce here, but this is Hoover writing back to this guy. Your letter dated October 17th, 1951 has been received, and it was indeed thoughtful of you to bring this matter to my attention. May I take this opportunity to point out to you that since the FBI is solely a fact-finding agency, and any information which we secure in our investigations must be admissible in court as testimony, it is not possible for representatives of this bureau to utilize any method such as you have described.
Okay, dude. It's real funny though. I mean, the original letter with its strong wording, it assumes that Hoover wants to let the people stay free. You know, this
Right.
is a free country. We need to maintain the freedom and the alarm bells, but Hoover's like, it's not really happening. Don't look here. We aren't suppressing freedom. Please, you peon, don't talk to me.
Yeah,
Even though he knows everything, and that's the whole thing, is like he's totally gaslighting these people, right? He
yeah.
knows it all. He's known it all since the 30s. He's known it all for 15 years. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? We're just a
Right.
fact-finding agency. That's the same thing. Yeah. I mean, what facts have you really found?
Right.
Sean, you've got a friend here. You favorite uncle said, big fan of Sean shows with Carrie Olaye. Highly recommend them if you haven't seen them. So,
Thank you. I am a big fan of those shows too. I've learned so much from her. She's amazing. People should check out her site too. She's on YouTube, Desert Dakini. And anyway, but
I
that's
think
great.
that one. What was the one that has a lot of those mind control victims? Is it the infatuation? No, it's the. What's the podcast that has a lot of? I think she's been on
Imagination.
Imagination.
Emma, yeah, she's
Yeah, I
great.
saw them. They got some kind of podcast award for 2025.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'll
That's
see
great.
if I can read.
She's fully focused on SRA, and that's where I heard Carrie the first time. And
she got some big award. I forgot who it was from. Spreaker or Spotify or something. They were in Vegas.
Good.
So, anyway,
that's great.
Imagination podcast with them.
I'm sorry.
Olahe was on there, right?
Yes, that's where I found her originally.
Okay.
And she, her handler was Julius William Gates, who was Major General of the Army for a number of years. If you look up who that dude is, it makes total sense. Everything she says. She was programmed as a Habsburg unicorn, they called her. She had we did a show where she talked about how Eyes Wide Shut is legit. It's real. She had experiences like that, and she was even triggered by watching the movie. People should definitely listen to her. She's very knowledgeable, and she not only knows about what has happened to her brain, but she knows how it applies to the rest of everything else, and she understands about human sovereignty, and she's just phenomenal. Everybody should listen. Yeah.
I know, Hans, you got to wrap it up, so maybe we can make final statements, or you guys add up.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
With the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, we're right on time here. Thank you, guys. I think that was very telling and powerful statement. And again, we see the threads of this going back, and we see potential for quite powerful outcomes. I mean, tremendous outcomes. And I'll tell you the truth. I didn't really think hypnosis as being. You think of all the mind control, the traumatic induced this and that, but it looks like hypnosis is really central.
Right.
And a lot of this stuff. I think the basis of even some of the SRA stuff could have come from this period, right?
Yes, yes.
Right.
And there's a whole missing chunk during World War II. So who knows what's in that, right? So that's nothing.
Right.
They just dropped out of that. But yeah, so thank you guys again, William and Sean. Check out I'm on BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, Spotify, and YouTube. The Resonant State. So please check it out. Please subscribe. And that's it. Thank you guys, and we'll just continue
Yeah,
forward.
another great show. Thanks everybody for listening. We had about 180 listeners, so please
Awesome.
share the show and go check out Wake the Dead, Resonant State, or William Ramsey Investigates. Anything you'd like to add, Sean?
Just for people to listen to and check out your work, and you've got years of, like, you've got thousands of podcasts out there, and it's just the old shows are still relevant, and so people that don't know of you should, I don't know who doesn't, but people should check out your stuff on WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com and read your books too. And you've been a fount of information for many years, and we're so glad to have you as a guest.
Thanks, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Also, like a lot of overlapping stuff. The Black Awakening, I did stuff
Right.
with Russ Dizdar, did the Hannuson show. So things that you can learn. I really want to get into kind of French mesmerism now, but that's other shows like that. But until next time, thanks everybody. Thanks for having me again, Sean and Hans.
Keep your animal fluid protected from
Yeah,
through
that's
magnetic influence.
Yeah, really.
Pretty far out, man. Get
that Faraday house, get the Faraday box, get the Faraday bag. Keep yourself protected, people. You don't know what's coming through your phone. Who knows?
Just get your friend to hypnotize you and make you not hypnotizable first.
There you go.
Just go have a group hypnosis session with all your friends.
Yeah, maybe that'll be our service. Like, we will hypnotize you to be unhypnotizable.
Right.
Pay us $1,000. We never lie. We
Right.
never learn anything about lying from Estabrook.
Right.
Well,
He was totally up and up.
But I mean, just that example of that the criminal case where the guy literally has a harem of all these other guys' wives. The other guys are working like his slaves. He's sleeping with their wives. They don't sleep with their wives, and they're the guys.
He was an expert. That's what they said.
But I mean, that you don't think, is that against your will or not? Probably against my will, against anybody's will.
Right.
So obviously they're downplaying it, but of course they're thinking Herbert Hoover, all-American guy. No hypnotism here. No.
Yeah, no. I mean, the front he presented is really something else. They knew a lot more, according to this document. He knew a lot more over time, too. Like, incredible. He had to know. I mean, these guys, when they saw things happen in the public, they know what's going on. That's the whole thing. They just don't tell anybody in the public. It's like a secret knowledge. They kept a secret society. Whatever. His daddy, J. Edgar Hoover's daddy, is like a 33rd degree Mason, too. So you see that Masonic. I don't know about Erickson, but Estabrook's 32nd degree. So it's another kind of scary aspect to it all. Yeah. All right, guys. Till next time. That's episode 14. Thanks for listening, everybody. Anything else you guys want to add? Anything else?
We love you, listeners. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening.